Where we're going to come back with more weather and the start of Focus at 4 as ABC 3340 special weather coverage continues.
ABC 3340 News starts now with a severe weather alert.
And be prepared and be weather aware. A long night is ahead of us. Temperatures are in the 70s this afternoon as storms enter the state. That does not bode well for this evening. Good afternoon to you. I'm Christopher Sine.
And I'm Pam Huff. Alabama's chief meteorologist James Spann, of course, is here. James, the risk for severe weather across central Alabama actually increased earlier this afternoon.
Yes, the Storm Prediction Center upgraded the risk for the northern part of the state to moderate. That's level 4 out of level 5. The areas you see here in red. An enhanced risk goes down through parts of central Alabama. We have a tornado watch in effect now. This was issued about 30 minutes ago. This tornado watch includes basically the northern half of the state until 11 o'clock tonight. All the counties you see here in yellow, as far south as Sumter, Greene, Hale, Perry, Chilton, Coosa, Clay, and Randolph, and then counties up to the Tennessee state line. Storms will begin to initiate across this region over the next hour or so. They'll be fairly random in nature. There's not going to be a line or an organized batch of storms, and you can see now things are relatively quiet, although we do have some showers in progress, and we have one warning on the eastern side of the state. We'll take a look at our storm that's moving into Georgia out of Cleburne and Randolph counties. This is where Georgia, Cleburne, and Randolph counties all come together, and this storm has been weakening. This did produce some fairly large hail in parts of northern Talladega County. It produced golf ball-sized hail up at Cheahaw State Park, and again, that's about to exit the state going over into Georgia. Now, we have a whole lot of chasers in the field today and spotters. One of them is our own Brian Peters. And Brian, tell us where you are and what you've got. It looks fairly sunny where you are right now.
Oh, it is absolutely beautiful. I'm trying to get a little shot to the northwest, but trees and some clouds, some low clouds are in my way here. But the storms that we pointed out just a few minutes ago on this live stream, those thunderstorms are about 75 miles away, and those actually have already had severe thunderstorm warnings initiated for them. So, as you say, James, things are beginning to happen this afternoon.
Right. And, you know, Brian, this is this magical time where it's a waiting game. And people look up and they see blue sky, and yet they see this tornado watch. And we should mention, Brian, that is a PDS tornado watch. That means this is a particularly dangerous situation. And I can understand that. People have a hard time resolving this beautiful day they're seeing now with a dangerous situation. But we have to...
Isn't that true?
You've got to be on guard, right?
Absolutely. And I was just noticing, James, also my temperature has gone from 74 to 78 with all this beautiful sunshine right now. That is certainly not helping the situation at all.
Right. And again, the sun is not really a good thing. You want it to stay overcast and cool to reduce the amount of buoyancy or instability. And when you see the sun break out like that, you're pushing 80, then that increases the instability. In fact, I'll just say this, Brian, the instability values are way ahead of where the models had projected for today, which doesn't bode well for the evening hours. And, of course, the sun is going down later. We're back on daylight saving time. The sun goes down now right around 7 o'clock. So the bottom line is we have to be very, very aware of this. So let's go back to our graphics one more time. We'll go back over to Pam and Chris in just a second. But here's the deal. Things are quiet now. We have one storm moving over into Georgia. Let's look at this one again. This is the one that's kind of piquing our interest here. This is a storm in the southern part of Cullman County, and this has been growing stronger. This is basically down Highway 69. Dodge City is right here. Bremen is right here. And more than likely, that thing is producing some hail now. This was nothing more than a speck about 20 minutes ago. And now we have a thunderstorm, more than likely producing some small hail. And I would imagine this will likely intensify as it crosses Interstate 65. And this will be crossing Interstate 65 south of the city of Cullman, probably south of Dodge City. It seems like the storms today will be right movers, veering a little to the right of the mean flow. So that'll be crossing Interstate 65 relatively soon. Not severe now, but I wouldn't be shocked if we saw a warning for that one fairly soon. And I do expect a number of warnings throughout the afternoon and evening hours. So we're going to go back to Pam and Chris, and if anything changes, we'll come right back and we'll do a full weather update in about 10 minutes. Back to you at the desk.
All right, James. Of course, the good news is that school districts either canceled classes completely or dismissed early, and that means that buses are off the roads. Many colleges also have canceled classes and events that were set for tonight as well.
Now, some school districts decided as early as Sunday afternoon it would be too great of a risk to keep students for a full day. Many, like these students at Minor Community School, dismissed at noon.
I'm so glad that they go ahead and let it out so early. They do a great job on that because, you know, us parents can like get home and prepare. Like we don't have to like prepare and then rush to go get our kids from school. Like it's very beneficial.
Well, parents tell ABC 3340 when it comes to weather in Alabama, certainly, you know, you never want to be sorry. It's always better to be safe. And as a reminder, James is here in studio as well. He's going to let us know the minute we have to go right back to him. And ABC 3340 has teams fanned out across the entire area for you, ready to bring you up to the minute information as storms approach. Our weather team with James and Charles right here in studio. And also, when we're not on the air, you can find us online. And as always, download the free ABC 3340 mobile app and be prepared and weather aware.
And in fact, that is something that Governor Kay Ivey is saying right now. I believe that she is giving us a briefing right now. If we can join that in progress and see what the governor is saying.
Yes, a particularly dangerous situation, tornado watch in effect for the northern half of the state. And what that means is not only will we likely experience very large hails, the governor mentioned up to the size of baseball, and 70-mile-an-hour straight-line winds, but the potential for strong to violent long-track tornadoes is also a real possibility. The highest threat of severe weather over the northern half of the state will start decreasing in intensity somewhat as it moves further south during the evening hours, but still there is a risk of severe weather all the way as far south as Greenville and Dothan and for areas eastward well into the overnight hours. So that tornado watch, which currently runs till 11 p.m. tonight, may be extended both in time and further southward. As the governor mentioned, a number of storms are developing over right now in eastern Mississippi, and they will be moving into northwest Alabama between 4 and 6 p.m., reaching the I-20-59 corridor between 7 and 10 p.m., and exit eastern Alabama, south of I-85 and east of I-65, sometime around midnight to 2 a.m. You know, I'm often asked with every tornado event, how does this compare to April 27, 2011? And what I tell everyone is that one storm, one tornado, if it hits your house, that's your April 27th. So now's the time to be prepared, as the governor mentioned, and then we're going to get through this together. With that, I'll turn it over to Jeff Smitherman, the Executive Operations Officer with the Alabama Emergency Management Agency.
Thanks, Jim. Good afternoon. I am Jeff Smitherman, the Executive Operations Officer for the Alabama Emergency Management Agency. And I'd like to say that on behalf of the governor, we have increased the activation level of our state emergency operations center to level 3, which means we've increased the staffing and extended the hours for the staffing of the Emergency Management Agency to cover during the serious threat times this hazardous weather imposes on us. We'll prepare for any actions that, any impacts that may be felt by the counties. We'll work closely with those counties using our division staff to work with the counties, the local jurisdiction, and the state partners in those divisions. We can never stress enough that how serious everybody needs to take the threat of severe weather as we enter into the severe weather season for the state of Alabama. As Jim indicated, this storm has the potential to produce tornadoes, large hail, and isolated damaging wind, and everyone really needs to take that serious and go ahead and at this time implement your safety plan, whatever that may be for your particular situation. It's time now to go ahead and make your preparations and implement your safety plan. I want to commend particularly the school superintendents that take the proactive measure working with the local meteorologist projections and forecasts for their areas and adjusting their school schedules so that we took the children's safety at heart and got them in where they could implement their safety plan with their parents. As you're all aware, again, March is the first month of this, so expect more to come for this season. This is just the beginning, and it is the first one, so everyone needs to really focus on this one and develop your plan and implement it. Throughout the weather event, following this press release, you can get additional information off our website at ema.alabama.gov or follow us on Twitter at AlabamaEMA. At this time, this concludes the press release. Thank you.
All right, listening there to Jim Smitherman, who now says we are at a level 3 with EMA. Now is the time to implement your plan of safety. And also Jim Stepkovich, who spoke before Jeff Smitherman, a longtime meteorologist, good friend of James and Charles, and understanding that this one has to be taken seriously. It's the first one of the year. It's got to be taken seriously.
Our state officials taking it seriously, and I think that what they're going after is that ripple down effect, if you will, to make sure that down to the community level that so many people are taking the precautions right now that James and Charles have talked time and time again.
And have been warning that this day is coming now for almost a week. So
we remain under a tornado watch right now.
Until 11 o'clock this evening.
Yes.
It could very easily be upgraded. And of course, James and Charles are in the studio here with us, monitoring moment by moment, and we will go back to them whenever is needed. There is other news happening today. Right now, police are questioning an Odenville man in connection with the death of a Gardendale woman who was found dead inside her house Sunday. 41-year-old John Bowden was taken into custody this morning. Canine units tracked him to Georgia Road off of Puerto Madrid Boulevard in Irondale. The body of the victim, 47-year-old Teresa Miller, was discovered after a family member had requested a welfare check by police. Police call this case a domestic situation. A celebration of life service is beginning right now at Westwood Baptist Church in Alabaster for Nancy Swift. Swift is the nursing supervisor shot and killed at UAB Highlands Hospital last week. The shooter killed himself after shooting Swift and one other UAB worker. That worker, Tim Isley, is recovering from his wounds at UAB Hospital. And renowned sculptor and artist Frank Fleming is dead. Fleming is perhaps most well known for what you are seeing right there, the Storyteller statue at 5 Points South in Birmingham. The 77-year-old died after a short illness Sunday at a Birmingham hospital. He became internationally known for his sculptures done in ceramic and bronze.
The Weather Authority on top of this developing weather situation right now. Much of the area, much really of the state, is under a tornado watch at this point. Chief Meteorologist James Spann, Charles Daniel, both of them are in the studio right now. We're going to be checking in with them momentarily.
We are just getting revved up here, unfortunately, with severe weather already this afternoon. We have had severe thunderstorm warning. We've got hail somewhere in the area. As we're looking there right now, that is from our Coleman Skycam, and we understand that we have had marble-sized hail in that area already.
Let's get right to James. James, you getting these reports firsthand here. What are you hearing?
Yeah, let's take that. Well, first off, here's the shower on radar. This is producing hailstones up to the size of marbles. And Charles, we say this a lot, marbles, that's not our favorite way of describing hailstones, right? Because if you're old like I am, when you played marbles, you had those big old king marbles, those big old things.
Yeah, that was the one you used for all of it.
That's the one you get with your thumb there. But anyway, the bottom line is this is under 1 inch in diameter, but this storm is producing hail now. We've had multiple reports of that type size hail coming through Bremen. And again, this is down here below Dodge City, and that is right over Interstate 65 right now. This is not showing any sign of producing a tornado at this point. But let's go to our Skycam full screen. This is the Coleman Skycam looking back down into that. The Skycam is located just east of downtown Coleman, up on top of the water treatment plant, giving us a great view of Coleman County. And again, you can see no evidence of a wall cloud, no evidence of a tornado, but these storms are going to be hail producers in the short term. But as the dynamic support increases, we're going to see these storms growing larger and larger, and we have potential for a few tornadoes. And again, within the moderate risk area, that's the area from Birmingham north up to the Tennessee state line, we have the chance of a few, perhaps, long track, strong tornadoes in through there. And we'll be watching for any storm, any supercell that becomes dominant. It just is out there by itself, good inflow. I want to go back to the radar quickly, and let me just show you, Charles. Let's check northeastern Mississippi. Wanted to show that we do have a storm that earlier, in fact, we still have a tornado warning polygon, I do believe, or maybe that has expired now. The Weather Service in Memphis earlier issued a tornado warning up in here near Baldwin, Mississippi. It looks like they've let that thing lapse, but these storms are starting to rotate over northeastern Mississippi, and these will be entering northwest Alabama soon. But we stress That's not my greatest concern. The greatest concern, it's those storms over North Alabama that pop up out of nowhere. Those things could rotate very quickly once they form. And again, the tornado watch, and it is a PDS watch. That means particularly dangerous situation will be in effect until 11 o'clock tonight. So the bottom line is there is a window between now and 11 o'clock where any storm that forms could produce very large hail, strong damaging straight line winds, and possibly a tornado or two. And we'll be watching all of these very carefully. So we'll have much more coming up in the weather segment. Now let's go back over to Pam and Chris.
James, we want to pass along some critical information here. The city of Birmingham has announced that 3 community safe rooms are now opened up about 17 minutes ago. Here's the locations right here. The safe rooms are at the following locations for you. Pratt City Park, that's 1331 3rd Street in Pratt City. The Jimmy Hudson, that's 305 Pratt Highway in Pratt City. And Smithfield Estates Park, 1707 Huntington Drive in Smithfield. We will keep an eye on all of that, and if you missed that, we're going to put it on the website momentarily.
And we want to add something else to this. People in Birmingham are encouraged right now to sign up for something known as Everbridge. If you haven't signed up for that already, please listen. It is an emergency alert program, and you can sign up by just simply going to jeffcoema.org. And what that will do, they will send you notices to your home phone or to your mobile phone. Give them an email address. They will text message you as well, all within a half-mile radius of any safe room. So this could be critical.
Absolutely.
If you need to get to a safe room, know where it is and know that it is having an impact on your area. So again, this is Everbridge. You can sign up at jeffcoema.org. We'll be back in a moment.
Watching storms in Cullman County at this point. The storms are under severe limits, but they are producing some hail. This is the Skycam, Charles. This is coming from the water treatment plant, and that's a pretty well-organized storm, but there's no evidence of rotation so far.
Right. Looks good so far. We've seen what marble-sized hail, or a few reports out of that. Not out of the question to see that, and it's just getting a little bit better organized. So anybody out there on that 278 corridor, just know you might run into some hail. If you've got a shiny new car, you might not want to run through that area right now.
Right, and again, as we keep the Skycam up, let me just say, Charles, that the greatest chance of hail is just north of Hanceville. I would say even maybe the Wallace State campus might be getting some hail now, then up to about 3-4 miles north of downtown Hanceville. And the hail core more than likely is going to stay a little south of US 278, probably going to cross Highway 91 here in just a little bit. But basically, the hail core right now is right on top of US Highway 31 in the vicinity of Hanceville. And again, I'd say that if you're in downtown Hanceville, you've got rain. But if you're just north of downtown Hanceville, again, out toward Wallace State or points north, you probably have maybe some marble-sized hail. The reports so far have been a marble-sized. Let's go back to the radar, and I'll show you that particular storm we're looking at here. This is US Highway 31 right here. Downtown Cullman here, downtown Hanceville here. This is the greatest chance of hail that's falling right in through here. And again, that'll be crossing Alabama Highway 91. That's the road between Hanceville and Holly Pond, and then ultimately crossing over into Blount County. But again, we stress there's no evidence of any tornado here, and the hail so far has been under 1 inch. The severe criteria, hail 1 inch or larger in diameter. Now, we've got Brian Peters on the road. Brian's in Storm Chaser 3340. We've got a lot of folks out today. We've got Brian Peters, we got John Brown, Brett Adair, and more. Brian, tell us where you are and what you've got there. It looks like the sun's starting to go away.
Well, yes, James, that view I had of those storms off to our northwest has been cluttered a bit by the formation of some additional lower clouds. My temperature is still running about 75 to 76 degrees, so still very warm. We're still getting some sunshine kind of between the breaks of the clouds, but not nearly that blue sky we had just a few minutes ago. And that, I think, is kind of a bad sign as these storms over the northern part of Mississippi are beginning to blow up, too, and we've seen several severe thunderstorm as well as tornado warnings out of those storms, James.
Yeah, and again, Brian, give me your exact location one more time. I'm sorry. Where's your location there?
That's all right. I'm on I-22. I'm probably about 20 miles to the southeast of Hamilton. I'm coming up here on the Brilliant and Ewan exit.
Okay, great. And again, Brian is up in Marion County now in northwest Alabama. And again, we do have a tornado-warned storm across the state line in northeastern Mississippi. No warnings in Alabama at this point. But let's go back to the radar, and I'll show you. This is the storm that has prompted a tornado warning north of Tupelo. This is in northeastern Mississippi, north of Fulton. And again, that cluster of storms will likely be crossing into northwest Alabama. Florence is back here. This is Franklin County. This is Colbert County. This is Lauderdale County. And again, this cluster of storms is moving on to the east. That will be affecting maybe Franklin, certainly Colbert County. So for our friends up in the northwestern part of the state, they'll be watching that carefully. This storm will stay north of our coverage area. But again, where Brian is up here in Marion County around Winfield and Ewan, storms could form there at any time. And let me just say this, the radar in 2 hours will look radically different. We will have a number of supercell storms in progress in many different places, and again, any of them could produce large hail, strong straight line winds, and a tornado, and again, the chance of 1 or 2 long track strong tornadoes this evening. So we'll be watching this stuff like a hawk. We'll be back very shortly. Now let's kick it back over to Pam and Chris.
All right, James, in Tuscaloosa County, certainly, unfortunately, they know what severe storms can do. And so city officials there are taking no chances for this severe weather event.
ABC 3340's Elizabeth Lane is keeping an eye on West Alabama for us, and she joins us now live. Elizabeth, what's the situation there?
Chris, Pam, city officials tell me that as of 4 o'clock this afternoon, they're moving to level 2 of their emergency protocol plan. They're telling me that right now begins their biggest concern in sort of this window where they think that we need to be most prepared right now. In fact, much of this emergency action plan was put into place already yesterday. Now, city officials, along with the county EMA, tell me they're proud of the way they've been able to handle and respond to these storms in the past. Of course, the 2011 tornadoes we mentioned still on everyone's mind. They're making changes. In fact, they've dispersed city assets, equipment, so that they're ready to go, even in the case that some of that could be damaged or not available during a storm like this. Now, probably most importantly, we want you all to be aware of some of the shelters they've set up. There are 4 around town. That's at Alberta School for the Performing Arts, TCTA University Place, and there's also one at Tuscaloosa Magnet School. So they're encouraging everyone, if you don't feel safe tonight, get to that place early and take advantage of those shelters. Of course, we'll keep you updated as the weather continues tonight. Live in Tuscaloosa, Elizabeth Lane, ABC 3340 News.
And Elizabeth, we'll be checking in with you throughout the afternoon and into the evening hours, covering West Alabama for us. And when severe weather strikes, it is extremely important, obviously, to have a safe place to go. We're looking at some areas that do have tornado shelters where you can turn to, and we're going to explain how you can help yourself.
And of course, Chief Meteorologist James Spann and Meteorologist Charles Daniel here with us right now, and will continue to bring us the very latest. You're watching the news.
It'll prevent chaos, because if everybody, if they didn't let us know this, ahead of time, then if the weather got really bad, there'd be too many people out on the road.
The time right now is 4:31, and typically school bus drivers would be on their afternoon routes. That's over and done.
And that's a blessing tonight. Schools throughout the viewing area, like University Middle and Elementary in Tuscaloosa, dismissed much earlier today or canceled classes altogether because of the threat of severe weather. And activities this evening also have been canceled. Check abc3340.com for a listing of school closings. Of course, right now, as we look at those skies, we know that this is not the worst it's going to get tonight. Let's go right now to Chief Meteorologist James Spann.
All right, we are watching developments very carefully today. First off, here's the big picture. This is a tornado watch in effect for about the northern half of the state, and this is until 11 o'clock tonight. And again, this is a PDS watch, and these are issued on rare occasions. This is a particularly dangerous situation. That's what PDS stands for. And this is when we have either a moderate or a high risk, is defined by the Storm Prediction Center. We have a moderate risk today, and this includes about the northern half of the state until 11 o'clock tonight. Want to go to some of the live streams here. Let's take WEX 07 if we can, Monroe. This is going to be John Brown's live stream. We've got a number of streams going today, and the goal of what we want to do is show you more of the actual weather than us. You don't want to see us. You want to see radar. You want to see what's going on. John is in Cullman County, and for those that have been watching us for a long time, John is one of our best. John was on so many of those violent tornadoes, and West Alabama in 2011. And again, the shower that brought the hail to Bremen and parts of southern Cullman County and Hanceville, he is a little north of there, and John is getting in position for the storms to initiate within the next hour or so, and he's going to be heading up toward the Morgan-Cullman County line. Now let's go to Brian Peters' live stream. Brian is in Marion County along Interstate 22, and Brian is headed up toward that spot where we do have tornado warnings in effect now for parts of northeastern Mississippi. And again, you can see from both John's live stream and Brian's live stream that it's basically partly sunny. There's still some blue sky above, and it's this waiting and watching process that's always such a challenge, Charles. But we do have a tornado warning back in northeastern Mississippi, I see.
Yeah, it's actually going to be moving into Tishomingo County here soon, and that's it's small communities, but still, watching this will cross over into Franklin County. It's going to be outside of our viewing area, but certainly this has been an ongoing storm. It's one of those storms that cycles, James. We've seen it kind of up and down, but I also wouldn't be surprised to see some pretty large hail out of that storm as well.
Okay, so again, this is a severe storm that is over northeastern Mississippi, and this will be crossing over into Franklin and Colbert counties here. This is Red Bay and Franklin County, and again, this will be up in the Huntsville television market. This will not affect our counties in West Alabama, Marion, Lamar, Pickens. This will be north of there. But again, let me just show you that big radar picture. We're kind of in that eerie, quiet waiting time here, and basically the only storm we've got is this one right here. So let's take a look at this one. This is the one that produced marble-sized hail through parts of Cullman County. Many reports of that hail in Bremen. And again, that thunderstorm is sitting basically on the Blunt Cullman County line. This is Alabama Highway 91, that's U.S. Highway 278, and the core of that is sitting right on top of Holly Pond up here in Cullman County, in northeast Cullman County. And you might see some small hail, but there's no evidence of any large hail. And again, for these warnings to be issued, the hail has to be 1 inch in diameter or larger, and there's certainly no sign of any storm rotation here. So for now, we do not have any active warnings in our part of the state, but I would say, put it this way, if we don't have any warnings by 5:30, I'll be surprised, and certainly by 6 o'clock, and then between 6 and 11 o'clock, it should be very active. I'm afraid we'll be here for quite a while this evening with a number of tornado warnings. And again, remember, we have potential for a few of these very significant long track tornadoes. These are EF2 tornadoes or larger, and that's based on the information given to us by the Storm Prediction Center as they prepared their forecast products for this afternoon and this tornado watch. So again, we are going to be waiting and watching very carefully to see what goes on here, but we don't want you to let your guard down. Just because there's nothing happening right now, understand this radar should look a lot different within the next 90 minutes or a couple of hours. In fact, it should look radically different. So we will have much more weather coming up very shortly, so don't go away.
James, let's talk about moving ahead here with our team coverage. It'll be 20 years next month since the April 8th tornadoes killed 14 people in Jefferson County's Edgewater and McDonald Chapel communities.
And the night of those deadly spring storms, many of us remember it well, there was no place to hide. I mean, one second you had a house, the next second it was gone. And now, here we are 2 decades later, and there are still no neighborhood tornado shelters in that area. As we prepare for tonight's storms, ABC 3340's Amber Grigley went back into the area to see what people do now when severe weather threatens. Amber?
Pam, a woman in McDonald Chapel community, tells me she learned her lesson from the last storm in 1998. She says going years without local storm shelters forced her to take matters into her own hands and build her own shelter to keep her family and neighbors safe.
Get the jitters. Ooh, I had the jitters now.
For Ruby Mapp, the thought of severe weather scares her.
Heard the train, and we panicked, and I had just pushed my mother over in the tub, and it came up, and it took the top off my house.
Mapp can recall tornadoes dating back to the 1950s.
But God was with us.
After April 8th tornadoes, Mapp says she figured the county would finally bring more storm shelters, but that has not been the case.
Pastor in Edgewater, now he's pushing for his community. We don't have no one out here to help us. We just have to go for ourselves.
So she took her money and invested in her own shelter pit.
I've been in it, and it held up. I hate it's out here. I wish I could have got it closer, but we knew when it's coming, we just run out and get in it. And it works.
Mapp's shelter pit can fit up to 15 people. She says her neighbors are well aware and is free to come and join her as needed. She says knowing others don't have this opportunity when storms hits bothers her.
But I wish we had something, around here where everybody can get into it.
MAP says there's only 2 people in the area with shelter pits. She says she encouraged people to invest in one until community shelters are available.
Well, Amber, have the residents in McDonald Chapel and Edgewater met with county officials about this issue, that they still really don't have those neighborhood shelters?
Pam, yes, but she tells me the difference between her community and other communities that now have shelter storms is they lack support. They have no one there to fight behind them and to help bring these shelters as soon as possible.
Amber Grigley bringing a story to light that many people need to be concerned about. There's 2 communities that have been hit so hard and they still have nothing.
This is a life-saving issue here.
Life-saving, absolutely. 2 shelters that individuals have put in, nothing for the community.
Wow.
All right, we appreciate your information. Well, we just got some new video in through the ABC 3340 app. Chris, I understand this is video of hail coming down from where?
This is going to be in Delta. It's in Clay County. It was about an hour ago. We asked James to pinpoint this, and he said that, yeah, that storm went right through there pretty quickly. Clay and Randolph counties were under a severe thunderstorm warning when this video was taken.
A reminder, of course, when it is safe to do so, you can always share your pictures or your videos of storms rolling through your area. Only when it is safe to do so. You can do that through our free ABC 3340 app.
And I want you to keep in mind here, we have James in studio, we have Charles in studio, certainly watching this situation to keep all of our communities safe when we think about your family and the things that you need to do to take action.
And if you are still just seeing a lot of sunshine right now and warm temperatures, keep in mind what our meteorologists are telling you. That makes the air even more dangerous as the storms move in. And I'm not going to attempt to explain it all to you, but just know that they are here because it's going to be a very difficult evening.
Our weather team is watching this. We have crews spread out from state line to state line to bring you up-to-the-minute information. And if you are not near a television, I remind you to download the ABC 3340 mobile app. It's free and you can get up-to-the-minute information and watch the coverage.
And just a reminder as well, check with your neighborhood if you aren't sure. Most of the shelters, I believe, in the state have already been open. We know that they are open in Coleman, they are open in Fultondale, they are open in Tuscaloosa, also in the city of Birmingham.
Yes.
Know where you would go. Have your safe plan ready for this evening.
We'll be right back.
4:43 now, 17 before 5 o'clock. We are in the midst of waiting and watching. We are waiting for severe storms to initiate across the state this evening. We have a tornado watch, a PDS tornado watch until 11 o'clock tonight for about the northern half of Alabama. At this point, we have no active warnings in our part of the state, and quite frankly, none statewide. We do have a tornado warning just across the state line in northeastern Mississippi. That storm will likely enter Franklin and Colbert counties up in northwest Alabama. That's up in the Huntsville television market for this storm you see right here that'll be passing well to the north of Hamilton. But again, for now, things quiet. The heaviest storm on radar is this storm that is sitting up at the northern tip of Blount and the far northeastern tip of Cullman counties. This is where Blount, Marshall, Cullman counties all come together. And this storm has been steadily weakening. It's a more stable environment up here. This is Lake Gunnersville right here. And again, we had marble-sized hail with that storm earlier today. And for now, that storm has weakened a good bit. And quite frankly, not seeing much lightning from that. And again, that's up here above Blountsville, near Sneed, up in that northern part of Blount County. Otherwise, things are relatively quiet at the moment. We're going to watch for any small showers that form. And what's going to happen, I think these small showers form within 5 or 10 minutes. They're thunderstorms. 10 more minutes, they're producing small hail. 10 more minutes, they're producing large hail, and possibly they're rotating, and they can go up very quickly in this environment. And again, in a situation like this, all the factors are in place. We have to just wait and watch. We can't give you specific arrival times for any one community from a storm because they're going to pop up in random places. We can simply give you a window between now and 11 o'clock tonight. That's when severe storms are possible. In fact, they're likely. But understand, not everybody will see a severe storm. The storms will be somewhat scattered in nature, and by 11 o'clock or midnight tonight, the risk will be winding down. We turn cool and stable tomorrow, maybe some lingering light rain, and by Wednesday morning, we could be dealing with frost on the ground. If not Wednesday, certainly Thursday. That's when the wind will likely be light. So much more weather coming up very, very shortly, so don't go away.
All right, James, we had talked about that we have reporters out from state line to state line. So many people with an eye on so many communities across our state with this.
One of those is Stephen Quinn, who is in Coleman right now. Stephen, if you will, tell us what is happening there, what you're seeing, what the skies look like right now.
Pam, I can tell you that there are sunny skies here right now. It was a different story just about 10-15 minutes ago, and that certainly could be an issue in the afternoon here, and they are preparing for the possibility of severe weather. The door is open right here. This is to one of the many shelters here in this portion of Coleman County that are now open. This one in particular here, right near Sportsman's Lake Park, able to hold about 400 people. They've got this door open, and this is literally where people would rush in the event that there was severe weather, particularly a tornado. Right now, just a precaution, again, not trying to make anyone nervous, but there's certainly something that they are prepared for. This all happened once that tornado watch was issued for this area. You see Coleman Police here right now, and we actually have, Chris, if we can pan over, one group right here. They're waiting just in case. They came all the way out here. They've got their car ready, and they will be right across the street in case that weather moved through here. We've had a couple of thunderstorms that have moved through this area. They brought some thunder, some lightning, even some brief periods of heavy rain, but no reports of damage in this part of Coleman. I know there was that storm to the south, the southern portion of Coleman County. We've been following your all's coverage there. We are monitoring that as well. We had seen that video that you all showed of some hail there. So far, though, no major reports, but everyone is obviously has their phones with them and are making preparations in case severe weather comes to this portion of North Alabama. Chris?
Wow, I'm actually quite impressed and pleased, if I may say so, that people are already there, taking the steps to prepare themselves to protect their families.
Well, you know, it can happen, and it can happen quickly, and that's why James and Charles has been, you know, telling people all day long, have your plan ready, know where you're going to go, know what you're going to do, because time is of the essence if it is in your community, if it is upon you. And to see that shelter there with, it will hold 400 people. Isn't that a wonderful thing to have in a community? And these folks, at least one carload, knows that's where they're going to be.
And that's a local government taking care of the community. That's something that I just can't put into words of how important that is.
Yeah, it saves lives. That's the bottom line. That's what it's all about. Back with more from James in just a moment.
Watching potential for severe storms this evening, I'm James Spann. If we can, let's go back to our triple box. Want to show what's going on in the outside world here. We've got multiple spotters and folks out on the road today. We've got Brian Peters, we've got John Brown, and many others. You're seeing on the left our fixed Skycam, and I want to say that's the Coleman Skycam. You got Brian Peters, who is stopped up in northwest Alabama. And Brian, if you're on the line with us, you're looking back toward this cluster of severe storms that's moving into northwest Alabama. We should mention here, we now have severe thunderstorm warnings for parts of Colbert and Franklin counties in northwest Alabama. Earlier, this prompted a tornado warning back in northeastern Mississippi. Brian, so you're seeing that from your vantage point. And Brian is not on the phone now, but Brian is in Marion County looking back up toward that storm. And if we can, I want to take WEX 07. This is going to be John Brown's live stream. And again, John is up in Coleman County, and John is now in that lower left-hand box, and he is headed up into a region where most of the experienced chasers and spotters believe the better chance of initiation will be up around the Tennessee River. But understand, everybody from Birmingham up to the Tennessee state line will have the chance of these longer track tornadoes. And if you're south of Birmingham, you have a chance of tornadoes and strong winds and hail, but it's just the greater chance of these long track tornadoes will likely be a little to the north of there from Brifley I-20 on north. Let's go back to Brian Peters' live stream. Brian, you're on the line. You're looking back at those big towers in northeast Mississippi crossing the state line now, huh?
Yes, that's what's kind of in the middle of the picture is actually the edge of those storms. They're around 35 to 40 miles to my northwest, and all of these storms that you're seeing there in my shot are actually storms that have been warned for, and radar indicating that the biggest storm could be capable of producing 3-inch hail. So that is absolutely amazing. And those storms are also produced a number of tornado warnings, though I have not seen specific damage reports for any tornadoes so far, James.
Okay, Brian, and again, so far we have heard of no damage other than many reports of hail across the southern states so far today. But again, we stress this thing is just getting started, and we expect a long evening and night ahead. Got to take a break. We'll come back with more weather and news. Do not go away as the news at 4 o'clock continues. The process of waiting and watching, waiting for thunderstorm initiation. And let me just say the main action for now is going to be up here in the northwestern corner of the state. And Charles, this storm about to cross over into Franklin and Colbert counties, producing what? Toyota-sized hail here. I mean, that's big.
They had golf ball-sized hail coming through Marietta just a little while ago south of Tishomingo. I wouldn't be surprised to see that north of Red Bay here in the next few minutes. So just monitor. It's that right there. And you see all that lightning, you know, that's a sign that you've got that friction of all that ice in the storm creating that. So that's what's going on there. But yeah, golf ball-sized hail coming out of that storm. We've got reports of that back in Mississippi. So interesting to watch that develop.
Yeah, let's go to some drone video. This is from the storm that came through Cullman County earlier. And, you know, the drone technology is just tremendous, and that's going to help us out greatly. This is from Dave Warren, our friend. Dave sends us a lot of great drone video, and you can see Smith Lake down below. This storm, as it came through Smith Lake and over into Cullman County, did produce some hail. Again, the hail was probably about maybe a quarter inch in diameter, and that has been the issue so far today. It's the storms producing hail. And of course, some brief heavy rain. You can see the rain shaft, and again, that's the shaft of heavier rain. This came through Bremen. It crossed over the interstate not too far from Dodge City. It came across Hanceville, came across Holly Pond, and that shower is diminished now. That's moved up into Marshall County. But again, that's a great look from a drone of that shower coming through Cullman County earlier today. So let's go back to the radar, and again, we stress we have a PDS tornado watch. That means particularly dangerous situation until 11 o'clock tonight for basically everybody watching us on television. All the counties here in yellow, that's basically our entire viewing area. Within the next 60 to 90 minutes, we'll likely see rapid storm initiation. Any storm that goes up could produce hail, a tornado, strong straight line winds. A lot to talk about. Much more weather coming up on ABC 3340 News at 5 o'clock. That starts now.
ABC 3340 News starts now with a severe weather alert.
Right now at 5, a tornado watch up until 11 o'clock for much of central Alabama. I'm Brenda LeDunn.
And I'm Pam Huff. All modes of severe weather are possible tonight, including a few strong tornadoes. Now, we want to get right to Chief Meteorologist James Spann with the very latest about what this evening could hold. James?
Right. The Weather Service in Huntsville has now gone tornado warning on this storm that is up here in northwest Alabama. This is Colbert County, this is Franklin County, and this is a tornado warning in effect. This storm will be passing fairly close to Russellville. These storms have had a history of turning a little to the right of the mean flow, so instead of moving northeast, they tend to be moving a little more due east. Now, this is up in the Huntsville television market, so we will not go wall-to-wall weather for this. This will be covered by our friends up in Huntsville. We do know many of you in Franklin County do watch, so again, we just wanted to let you know that that storm in Marion County looks fairly dangerous at this point, Charles. And again, this thing, to my knowledge, has not produced any damage in Mississippi that we know of.
Not that we know of. It's had numerous warnings on it. We've seen it cycle several times. It's back into an upcycle now at this point, and we'll probably see that all the way across North Alabama. We'll see warnings on that several times. But again, you see the highlighted box there. So if you're in Red Bay to Russellville, you need to go ahead and seek shelter immediately for those that are watching us, those that watch us online. But certainly, definitely a very intense storm. We've seen golf ball sized hail out of that. We know that's been confirmed, but no confirmed damage as far as a tornado so far, which that's good news. But again, a good strong indication of rotation with this storm at this time. And that warning is until about 5:30, and that's going to last the duration. Most likely, they might even extend that a little bit further.
We've got a image just in. If we could take WEX 05, this is an image of a wall cloud with that storm, Charles.
Wow.
A wall cloud and a tail cloud. Very, very impressive structure on this thing. And again, this thunderstorm is crossing over into Franklin County, and this was taken from Red Bay about 4 minutes ago. And I think that's one reason the Weather Service in Huntsville went with a tornado warning. That is a very well-defined wall cloud with a tail cloud that could drop a tornado at any time. So again, a tornado warning in effect now for parts of Franklin, Colbert counties, and northwest Alabama. We'll have much more on the situation coming up shortly. Ladies, we'll kick it over to Pam and Brenda.
All right, James. The Weather Authority, of course, has crews scattered out across central Alabama ahead of this evening's severe storms.
And we want to begin with ABC 3340's Elizabeth Lane in Tuscaloosa County right now. Elizabeth, you spoke to parents picking their children up from school ahead of the severe weather.
Brenda, Pam, parents are telling me they're very happy with the school district's decision to go ahead, get ahead of this, and let students out of class early. So some schools, including University Middle and Elementary, let out as early as 11:30 this morning. Officials I've spoken to across the board agree. They're saying the key to successfully preparing for these severe weather events on all fronts is being as flexible and adaptable as possible, and that's what they're trying to do. Most people tell me they plan to shelter in place, but mainly that it's a waiting game until the storm moves in tonight. They don't know because their plan could change at any moment.
We'll probably just go to the house and let them play until the weather gets bad, and then we'll seek, we have a place where we can go for shelter if it gets really bad. But other than that, just play some games, do whatever.
City officials are considering extending Tuscaloosa 311 hours past 7 o'clock tonight. That decision should be made soon.